What's up, guys and gals? Your host with the most, Griever, as always, bringing you guys the latest Chapter 4, Ayakashi Triangle, Chapter 94, with a beautiful color page this week. Once again, we've been getting quite a few of those ever since jumped over from Weekly Shonen Jump. I'm definitely not complaining because the art quality hasn't been going down. It's actually only been increasing because we're getting these beautiful color spreads. So quite nice. This chapter is entitled Rita's Nightmare, ? Rita being, of course, Suzu's younger brother. Now, definitely what I like is that at the very beginning of the chapter, Rita seems to be a little cold towards Suzu, and Shirogane's initial reaction is, it's probably something you did, you pervert. And the fact of the matter is that sets the tone for the rest of the goddamn chapter, because that's exactly what it was. Because Rita, of course, walked in when Suzu was making out with Matsuri as a girl. Now, of course, Rita doesn't realize the situation or anything like that. And now he's very conflicted. He's very confused. Suzu has always been the big sister, trying to, play video games with him, try to cook for him, do all that stuff, try to hang out with him. And then it's like anything. You don't really want to see that side of things. We all know that mommies and daddies have sex. That's how we're all here. But no one really wants to see it or think about it, right? Like the whole trauma of catching your mom and dad in the act, or catching your sister or brother in the act. It's not something that anybody wants to think about or ever walk in on. So unfortunately, that's what Rita did walk in on and stuff, and now really can't get it out of his head, which makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense as a young boy, and that kind of idea. So definitely not a bad little plot line to go across. Apparently, definitely a very evil-looking Ayakashi ends up possessing the dream state of Rita. Jumps into his mind, puts him into... manages somehow to not only just possess him, but make him fall asleep and actively affect his dream. Didn't have to wait for him to fall asleep or anything like that. And now Rita, in his dream, is looking at two slave Leia outfit people, Jasmine from Aladdin thing going on here for some weird reason. Arabian Night called and they want their copyright back, and boom, we got Matsuri and Suzu making out in slave girl outfits from Return of the Jedi. So yeah, that's a thing. Anyway, so definitely this chapter is all about the plot. Now, unfortunately, when Suzu walks in and finds him like this, he's definitely down on the ground. He's definitely having a nightmare. He's definitely in pain. Notices and senses Ayakashi energy right away. And this is where Shirogane says he's definitely possessed by an Ayakashi. This isn't a normal sleep. He didn't just fall on the floor and fall asleep. So they call Matsuri right away. And this is a mistake on Suzu's part, in my opinion. Now, Shirogane ends up going in and helping out a little bit here. But I think Suzu's in for a bit of a fight next chapter, because old grandpa decided to try to do a TikTok dance with Roka and ended up throwing his hip out. So this is where Matsuri is trying to help old grandpa. So, and this is where, of course, Shirogane's like, Seigen, you idiot. Why are you still trying to act like you're young? You're like 87, But either way, Suzu, instead of saying, well, listen, I got a real crisis here. Rita's, being possessed by an Ayakashi. I need your help, blah, blah, blah. Says, oh, well, I hope your grandpa gets better, bye, and decides to try to help him by herself. Now, saying we can't rely on Matsuri for help. It's like, well, Roka's right there. Like, what's Matsuri supposed to do? All he can do for hip pain is either get him to the hospital or put some cold packs on the hip. Or heat packs. I forget, cold for one thing, heat for the other. Anyways, fact of the matter is that realistically, that's a stupid call. That was just an excuse for Suzu to do this, and sort of a weak excuse. But anyways, she shoves herself basically into the dream, and of course she's already in the dream, so she jumps into her current body, which is the one that was making out with Matsuri in the Leia slave uniform. And this is where, it's sort of like the whole, there's no gender swap mark, so this is definitely in the dream. You're not the real Matsuri. This is a dream, and the Matsuri, who is the Ayakashi, is saying it's your fault that your brother's having this dream. He's afraid he has no place left in his sister's heart. And that's going... So, even though this is plot, but it actually sort of is. It's like, because Rita isn't ready to acknowledge, like, he hasn't figured out his feelings yet. He's like, I can't look her in the eye anymore. Like, she's not really... I can't see her as my big sister who did this, and this with me or for me anymore. I don't know what to think. The Ayakashi, of course, has already reached the sum of the problem. Rita himself hasn't figured it out, but basically he's worried that he's losing his big sister's love. You know, a totally normal, like, you know, he loves his big sister and his big sister loves him, and he's worried that he's losing her to somebody else. And he's like, that's, you know, and it's not one of those weird brother-sister complexes or anything like that that is so prevalent in these type of mangas. No, it's simply he's young and he's worried that all her time is going to be devoted to somebody else and have zero time for him anymore. You know, he just wants a little, you know, some sister and brother alone time. That's all. And that's totally normal and stuff. So the Ayakashi has already figured this out, probably by possessing him, of course. And this is where demon teeth Ayakashi decide fuel for nightmares and tries to eat him. And of course, Platinum Shell Shirogane attacks and comes in and says, I'm also possessing Rita right now, but dreams are created in the subconscious mind, so anything could happen. So Rita has been sort of woken up inside of his own dream, and Suzu's trying to help him and stuff. Now, this is where the Suzu, who was, you know, or the Matsuri who turned into Suzu, and now it's kind of confusing. The Ayakashi is basically, he acknowledges that you are the Ayakashi medium, the current king of the Ayakashi and all that stuff. And so Suzu claims, like, just says straight up, you're the Ayakashi, what is your purpose? And she basically says, my job is to exercise you, and turns into Matsuri in full ninja gear. So this is very strange. Now, this means that this nightmare is not Rita's anymore. It has become Suzu's. And we see these demonic eyes of this definitely old face. It looks like one of those old Chinese lion dog statues sort of idea. Glowing white eyes or something like that. At the very end of the chapter, definitely symbolizing the true form of this Ayakashi that's in the form of Matsuri in ninja form, right? So now she's going to, they're going to have this battle. Now Shirogane acknowledges that clearly the Ayakashi has now taken over now that Suzu has entered the dream. This has become Suzu's nightmare, not Rita's anymore, because Rita doesn't have any awareness of Matsuri in Exorcist Ninja form. That means that if the Ayakashi transformed into Matsuri as an Exorcist Ninja and is stating those terms, then this nightmare has now become Suzu's no longer. So I'm assuming this Ayakashi can control, when he enters people's minds or people enter the dream, he can control the environment of the dream and he can bring their nightmares to the forefront. So now that Suzu has entered into Rita's dream or nightmare, the Ayakashi can sort of circumvent it and change the shape of the nightmare into becoming whoever is in the nightmare. So definitely a very dangerous ability in that regard. And the fact of the matter is that we know that this Ayakashi doesn't need to wait for someone to fall asleep, because just forced Rita right into an unnatural sleep, as Shirogane said, you know, halfway through the chapter. So definitely interesting, if nothing else. Definitely an interesting chapter. Once again, I'm curious as to how this battle's going to go and what this Ayakashi wants and, like, represents, and how did it go undetected inside the Ayakashi medium's house under the bed without Shirogane or Suzu or Matsuri or anybody knowing it was there? Did it just show up? But, you know, I don't really buy that, so I'm curious. I am actually a little curious about this Ayakashi. But anyways, that's the chapter, everybody. What do you guys think of the chapter? Like, comment, subscribe. As always, fourth and most importantly is to drink, but responsibly, as I always do. We'll see you guys back here next time for Chapter 95 of Ayakashi Triangle. Looking forward to it. Know you guys are too. For the plot. Definitely 100% for the plot. And we'll see you guys back here next time. Bye-bye.